What's up, Stitt-Heads? We're in it. Oh man, crap. Almost forgot. There's the noise. All right, welcome back, guys. It's hot as hell on a Sunday out here in Oklahoma right now. I just did my farewell 2 shows with my band One Night Stand over the weekend. It was awesome. So I'm a little worn out. It's been a long weekend. I'm in my white trash attire right now. It's okay. It's Oklahoma. So, anywho, without further ado, this today's guest, we have tried to connect in the past, and I was lucky enough to get sent a copy of his book, and I loved it. And then we finally got back together and made it finally happen. So Joseph Collin Wright, welcome to the show, man. How you doing, brother?
Doing great. Thank you, Derek. Thanks for uh, reaching back out or I should say I reached back out or whatever, however it happened, and let me come onto your show. I appreciate it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, dude. Lives get busy, and sometimes we got to reschedule things, and then lives stay busy, and we forget to reschedule. So shit happens.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, dude, tell
Uh,
us your book. It's Under a Glass Unveiled. Is that correct?
Through a Glass Unveiled. It's
Through
it's
a Glass,
basically
my
what it
bad.
is. It's my own personal testimony. It's I put it in chronological order, even though in the book I think I forget to put my exact age at each individual incident. So there's 30 different incidents or stories rather that start from when I'm essentially when I get saved, when I'm like probably my mom leads me to Christ when I'm about I think 5 or 6, and from the time I get saved up until shoot now, the enemy has been after me. I mean, I've been attacked multiple times. um, at least 2 or 3 times I should have died. um, I mean, I've been attacked by a homeless guy who was possessed. I mean, you go through, and I've been through the gamut. So, and in my book, I everything that I went through, I draw a picture of it, and you get to
Yeah.
see what I went through.
That's what I loved about it too, is the illustrations along the way, but not just like some copy paste a photograph, which there was some of those, but like the hand drawn illustrations and stuff. Those were really cool because not many people do that.
Yeah, yeah. There was like the one. I think there are like two actual photos. One photo is of my dad, and I blocked out like his eyes just for to give him a little bit of privacy, I guess. But that was a photo that I happened to. I noticed it one day when I was like 13 because we lived in Vista. We moved to Vista behind the courthouse, and I was making like a sandwich or something, and I happened to see this picture on the refrigerator, and I saw because I've always had really good eyesight, and so I see this picture, and I'm like, that looks weird. And at first, I thought it was a bird like coming next to my dad's head, and as I got closer, I looked at it. It's not. You can tell it's not a bird, and so literally, as I've examined it over the years, and I still have it in my closet, it literally looks like a guy wearing. I believe it's the what do you call it? The Hat Man, the
Mm-hmm.
guy with the hat.
Mm-hmm.
He's wearing like a strange looking hat, and it literally it looks like a black disc, and he's sticking his neck and his head out of this black disc in midair, and it's right behind my dad's head. And when I first brought it to my mom's attention, she was like, "Oh, it's just a bird, Colin." I was like, that's not a bird." And I told her, I said, if a bird was coming next to your head, like flying next to your head, you would react,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because it's happened to all of us. Like a bird flies close by, and you can hear it coming for one. And in the photo, you can tell he has no clue it's there. And
Weird.
yeah, and so when you see the book in the book, you'll see the photo. It's kind of blurry, but you can tell there's something like right behind his right ear. It's totally bizarre. So that's just supernatural, another supernatural thing that's plagued my family and myself. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Is there more photos that you have possibly that like you've noticed weird things over the years as well about your family or?
Um, no, I think that's the only photo as far as weird stuff appearing in a photograph that I can think of. Um, but the other photo that's in my book is just basically is kind of like evidence backing up my story when I fell in the fire at the campsite at the La Jolla Indian Reservation.
I remember that
It's a
story,
picture
yeah.
of me, my buddy Roach, who's now passed away years ago, my other buddy Elliot, who moved to Arkansas, and then some other people that I don't keep in touch with. But that's a photograph of that when I went to, and I almost, dude, I straight up fell in a fire, and it was blazing, like it was super hot, and it had about a foot of coals. Like, it's crazy, bro. Like when I fell on
Mm-hmm.
it, time literally slowed down. And I remember I had my arm up like this, and I remember telling myself, "Don't stick your hand in the fire. Don't stick your hand in the fire," because I knew if I did, I was going to lose my hand. And so
Mm.
I tell myself, take a breath. And in a matter of like a second or two, I was able to think to myself and figure out, okay, what's the best way? I calculated what's the best outcome of the situation. And I remember thinking, if I take a breath and I take the impact on my ribs, if I take a breath, it'll cushion and I'll be able to bounce and roll off of the rock. So I
Mm-hmm.
did all this in like a second or two, and time just slowed down. And sure enough, I raised my hand up and I took a breath in. And as soon as I did that, everything got like super bright white because I was in the flames. And then
Mm-hmm.
I hit the rock on my side. And my buddy told me, everyone that was sitting around and saw it happen, they said I made like a horrible sound. Like all this air came out of my lungs. But as soon as I hit, I bounced and rolled off. And just that short amount of time that I was over the fire, my right eyebrow was like, dude, my face was like a baby's butt. It was
Ooh.
so smooth. There was no hair on
Yeah.
my face. It just singed all the hair off. And
Wow.
luckily I had a hat on, so it didn't my hair didn't catch. And I was
Oh, that's
wearing like
interesting. Yeah.
yeah, I was wearing this jacket, and it started to melt part of the jacket. But dude, it was crazy, bro. I
Yeah, I
was just
mean, like, not to diminish it, but it sounds like it could have been way worse. Like you
oh
said,
yeah.
without having the jacket on, without having a hat on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could have been disfigured for sure.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Damn,
that was
dude.
just
So,
one of
I
them.
mean, what inspired you to decide to write the book? And also maybe a two-part question: is there like a potential for a second book, possibly of like since you've wrote the original, your first one? Is there a potential for like has other things happened since the first book came out? Is what I'm kind of saying.
Um, so first off, what inspired me to write the book? So in the Bible, there's a prophet named Jeremiah, and he talks about how there's like a burning in his chest that he has to basically go and give the message to God's people. So it was kind of like that. Like my whole life, I knew that I needed to tell people about it, but I was basically scared that people were going to think I was crazy. But
Mm,
now that I'm older, I'm a dad, and I don't care what people think anymore. Because I'm
mhm,
like 44, so um, I knew. So the things that happened in my life, where I'm at right now, been to court, had to fight for my daughter. I've been through hell and back, and God put it on my heart. He's like, Colin, you need to write your testimony, because as a Christian, our testimony is the most powerful thing, right?
right.
It's like when you go to court. If you witnessed a crime or if you were part of something, the judge asks, "What's your testimony? What happened?"
I mean, it's
So
almost like there is a little truth to the term silence is violence. Like, if there's
yeah,
something that,
yeah,
yeah, that write it down, recite it, get it out to
yeah.
the world. Yes, yeah.
So when someone who has no idea about the supernatural, someone who has never experienced God in any way, if I stay quiet about what's happened to me, then I'm actually doing that person a disservice. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? It would be like think of it like if you and your family, you, your wife, and your kids were going to go to, let's say, to Disneyland, and you had no idea there was a chemical spill, and the people that are coming from there, knowing that there's a chemical spill, they're obligated. They should tell people, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah, good point. Yeah.
that's how I look at it.
Mhm.
And so I've witnessed things, I've experienced things that if I don't share about it, God's going to hold me accountable for not sharing my testimony. And
Yeah.
so that was bugging the crap out of me. And I finally sat down, and my mom, she's passed away. She died at the end of 2023, but um, I tried to finish my book before she passed away, but she got to see the rough draft, but she never got to see the published copy, which is fine. But
Mhm.
um, she told me in like 2022, I think it was, or no, 2021, when I moved into my place, she said, Colin, God's put you in this place. And she said, don't waste this opportunity. And so that kind of resonated within me. And she was right. And so I sat down one day and I was like, I'm going to do it. Right. And I was going to court, fight for my daughter. And So no, there's not going to be a sequel to Through a Glass Unveiled. Um, but to also follow up on your other question, yes, stuff has happened to me since I moved in, since I written the book. There's actually something that happened to me when I was living at my mom's house because I got literally thrown out of my house. I was homeless. Um, I had to find a job real quick, and the courts don't care. Like,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? Like, if you're fighting for custody of your child, the judge, they hear this all the time.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I was homeless, and the judge was basically like, "Do you have a place to stay? Like, do you have a place for your kid to, for you to be a dad?" And then I was like, "Well, I'm getting a job." And because I got this job, I was able to move on base.
Mm-hmm.
Huge blessing from like hidden blessing that I didn't even realize was happening.
Yeah.
God totally hooked it up. But before that happened, I was living in Menifee, California with my mom, and I was helping watch my daughter. But during that time, something crazy happened, dude. That it's the only time in my life where I was able to. I don't really know. The only thing I can make sense of it. So to full circle back to Dean Odell. Dean Odell had
Mm-hmm.
in one of his sermons. He talked about a lady that he prayed over, and he said there was like a monkey thing on her back. So that same exact thing I saw on my mom's back, and it was in
Interesting.
2020. It was in 2020. I was studying to get my universal, my 608 for HVAC,
Oh,
and
cool. Yeah.
I was going to UEI in Riverside, California, and I was sitting there in my chair. I was typing. It was like 6 in the morning or something, and a lot of times my mom would wake up at like 5 or 6, and she would make breakfast, and then she would go out on the patio and read her Bible and pray and stuff. And so I was sitting there, I was on my laptop, and she wakes up. She's, "Hey, Colin, you want something to eat?" And I was like, "Oh, yeah, sure, Mom, thanks." And she gave me like two options. She said A or B. And I said, "Oh, I'll take A." And then she goes, and like 10 minutes later, she brings in like B, and not even thinking about it because I was like preoccupied. And I looked, I was like, "Oh, Mom, remember I said I wanted A?" And as soon as it left my mouth, I was like, "You idiot." I was thinking, I was like, "You should have just taken whatever she."
Mm.
But I'm the type of guy, like, if you ask me, "Hey, do you want to go play golf or you want to go to the beach?" And I'll say, "Well, let's go to the beach." And then you say, "Okay, we're going to go play golf." I'll be like, "Then why did you ask me?" You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
so, I wasn't trying to be mean to her. I wasn't trying to be rude, and then I was like, "Oh no, it's okay, Mom." And she's like, "No, no, it's fine. It's fine." And then she came back like 10 minutes later with A, but here's what's weird. So when she came back through the doorway, when I looked up and I met her and I saw her coming through the doorway, I could tell, like seeing her face, that she was upset. But I saw this thing like behind her right shoulder, and the only way I could describe it, it was like the movie Gremlins. I know you've seen Gremlins, the first
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
So remember Gizmo?
Yeah.
Okay, so try to picture if you were to mix, like, let's say a monkey with Gizmo, but
Hmm.
I'm guessing this thing was probably about 2 or 3 feet tall, and it was literally like looking at me, like peering over her right shoulder, looking at me. It had these big old eyes, but it was kind of translucent, and it was like electric blue.
Mm-hmm.
I'm telling you, bro, I saw this thing as clear as day, and it noticed that I saw it, and as soon as it saw me look at it, it like ducked down behind her, and I was like, "Whoa!" And I was seeing in the spirit.
Strange. Yeah.
So here's what I have to tell people, that I'm certain the only reason I was able to see it is because that whole week leading up to that day, that whole week I had been fasting. So I was only drinking water. I was eating like broth, and I think I might have had like some saltine crackers or something.
Mm-hmm.
So I was fasting for like a week. And then on that day, I was going to break my fast. And then that happened. And I saw this thing on her back, and I was like, dude, it freaked me out. It's the only time I've been able, that I can think of. It's the only time that I was able to see. I believe Dean Odell called it an elemental. So I
Yeah.
don't know what
Yeah.
that means. It's like some kind of a creature that operates in the spiritual realm, that apparently
Mm-hmm.
these things are around us all the time. We just can't see it. but
They're
for
in this
whatever
in
reason,
between. Yeah.
God allowed me to see it, and I'm certain that her demeanor, like how she was upset, this thing I think was influencing that, and then
Gotcha. Yeah.
she died of breast cancer at the end of 2023. So Dean Odell was saying that he rebuked this thing in the name of Jesus Christ, and this monkey thing fell off of this woman and ran away. And then he said that same lady later was cured of her cancer. And so I'm
Hmm.
sitting here having to wrestle with this fact that, okay, had I realized that then and then prayed over her and rebuked this thing, could my mom have survived breast cancer? So there's a lot of stuff that my siblings, I try to tell my siblings, and they're like, okay, sure, Colin. And they think I'm nuts. You know what I mean? But it's like, that's
I
the
can
thing,
see
bro.
your
Like,
point to that, but you can't hold that on.
no,
If you
I
didn't
know.
know no, I'm not saying you are, but yeah, I could understand what you're saying though. You
Yeah.
can't
And
hold that against
it's
yourself
just,
though. But
that's just one of those things that I have to deal with. Like,
hmm.
I understand that now, but, it's hard, bro. Like, it's just, I get, I think about stuff and it makes me really, really sad. But, um, people think like, I think a lot of times people hear Christian and they think of like Ned Flanders off The Simpsons or something.
Right.
But here's the thing, like if you have a Christian who truly is doing what they're supposed to be doing and they're on fire for God, bro, Christians are attacked by the enemy, like spiritually wise. Like the
Hmm.
devil and his minions go after Christians because Christians are actually the only threat, right? The devil doesn't
Hmm.
care about people that are using drugs. The devil doesn't care about people that are doing things that are the person is engulfed in sin in their life because the devil knows that they're screwed. He
And
only
it's also
cares
like an
about
unspoken agreement. He kind of knows it's like a their own free will to their
yeah,
demise as well. Even without his influence. But yeah.
yeah. So someone who's causing a threat to his empire, he's going to go after those people.
Hmm.
So you know what I mean? Like that's why pastors will get caught up in like fornication and you know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like he targets those people, and there's witches that target people in churches. That's why a lot of stuff that Dean Odell says, he's dead on, dude. I think Dean Odell is legit. I don't
Yeah.
agree with 100% of what he says, but I agree with like 98% of what he talks about,
Hmm.
and I have a lot of respect for that man.
And it's interesting. He became on my radar whenever him and Greg Locke did the flat Earth
Yep.
debate, right? And Greg
Yep.
Locke just made an ass out of himself. And then what's
Yeah.
even funny, just a little side tangent. Greg Locke, dude, this guy in the past year, 6 months, at least last year, he's lost his damn mind on this whole
Yeah.
like Israel thing and against dude, he's one of the like it's turned into like the Dan Bongino crowd and the stuff like that, where you're like, dude, you are a fraud. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, people are seeing through the grift now, and you're just in it for the money. And back to Pastor Dean Odell, he seems he's in it for the love of the game, for lack of a
Yeah.
better term. But yeah.
I agree with you. Yeah. So yeah, that's why I did it. I did it to get it's my testimony I'm supposed to share. Since I've been here, I was attacked. So there's actually a neighbor of mine who, bro, I'm telling you, like this neighbor of mine has literally tried to get me fired for no
Mm.
reason. Um, she accused me of trying to sell her drugs. Like I shouldn't laugh about it, but if you knew me as a person, you'd be like, really? Like she sent an email to my company saying that I accosted her in the laundry room. I'm like, what? Like laundry room? And yeah, it's just this whole thing. And but I've been praying for her because
Hmm.
Jesus said you need to bless your enemy and pray for your enemy. And so um it's just I've been attacked just nonstop, and it is what it is. But I was attacked in my bed. Like it was something gnarly that maybe your viewers, your audience, maybe they know what this is. I've never experienced this particular thing, but I was sleeping one day in my bed and I remember it was like I was attacked. It was like I heard like growling or something, and I heard like a buzzing, almost like a. Okay, you know that when you were in school, you ever had one of your buddies that would like rub their fingers next to your ear and it sounded like
I
a
think I know what you're
bumblebee
talking
or
about. Yeah.
something?
Yeah. Yeah.
So imagine that sound, but like at my forehead. It was like
Huh.
something was trying to like I don't know. It was really weird,
I think
and I
like
woke
pineal
up
gland.
instantly. Yeah, dude, I woke up
Yeah.
instantly, and I felt like this ominous, like something was growling, like trying to attack me, and that happened here in my bed. Um, that's what I mean.
That's
Just
wild.
weird stuff.
Yeah.
That the only way to explain it would be it's demonic. You know what
Well,
I
and then
mean?
there's the weirdness of like your brain as you sleep goes into a different realm, which is
Yep.
why dreams can seem vivid and things like that. And then I'm not saying that those are dreams. I'm saying that like there's this weird in between this veil that gets lifted in like the I don't know the different two or three different terms. You got REM sleep and then whatever sleep, it's like, so there's that when you're first waking up, like my 12-year-old daughter, I can ask her three things when I'm waking her up. And then 5 minutes later, she'll say, you didn't ask me that. I'm like, yeah, because you're not right there yet. It's like, you're not, your brain's still reprocessing to go fully awake. So my point is like, there's things that people will dismiss because of that. They're like, oh, you were just sleeping or is a dream. But until people have their own experiences, like it's almost impossible to explain things.
Yeah, and I've told my siblings that I said until you experience the supernatural, everything I'm telling you is going to sound either made up or kind of like embellished or like that one probably the most profound supernatural thing that I've ever experienced is actually shortly after I got saved, and I was probably I'm guessing about 6.
Mm-hmm.
It's when I saw I I don't know for certain who it was. I can only speculate, but I think it was Elijah, because in the Bible it says that only Elijah and Enoch have not died. So they were literally taken by God, still alive, and they're still alive to this day, as far as I know.
Hmm.
I saw this man step out of the clouds, and he had his staff in his right hand, and he like waved it in front of himself. And as he waved it, he turned to his left, and then he walked back into the clouds. I don't know what that means. I don't know. I've prayed about it many times, but I saw this when I was about 6, and he was about, I'm guessing, about an inch from my perspective up in the sky. He was about an inch tall. So however far away that would be, I don't know. But
Hmm.
he walked out of the clouds and he stood there and he looked down at me. I didn't hear him say nothing. I didn't hear anything. I just saw him do that. And so um, that's what I mean. And I've been
Makes you
attacked.
wonder if you should have seen that or weren't supposed to see that or what that
Yeah,
means.
bro,
Yeah.
I don't know. Like, it's bizarre. I can't make any sense of it. And my mom didn't really know what to think of it. And a lot of the stuff I kept to myself my whole life,
Hmm.
because saying it now, I know that it's going to sound crazy to a lot of people, but I'm telling you, it happened. Like, hand to God, that happened to me, and I still to this day I don't know what it means.
Well, hey man, let's take a little side trip okay, that's just got my brain thinking a little bit. Like we've been told forever that like, oh, we can't look too deep in the ocean, blah blah blah. And then we
Right.
also have, oh well, you got NASA telling you what's in the sky. Yet at the same time, they're clouding the skies every single day as well.
Oh
So
yeah.
now when you said this when you were 6 years old, they probably weren't cloud seeding and all this crap as much as they are now.
Right.
But just hear me out. I've got a little point where I'm getting at. Like, so with all this alien disclosure stuff they're wanting to come out with, and UAPs, UFOs, and all these crazy things, they're showing videos from the sky. They're saying there's certain underground bases in the water. There's videos of shit flying straight up and out of the water. And my point
Yep.
is like they've kept us like here on ground level. Excuse me, man. Dude, I played 2 shows over this weekend. I lost my voice completely yesterday, so I'm lucky it's back at all today. But anyways, my point is, they keep us at this like eye view level, right? And then we're not supposed to look up, but you're seeing things in the sky. Other people see things in the sky. Now it's almost like they're having to disclose whether they want to or not. And now I don't believe everything they're disclosing, but I'm thinking there's too
Right.
many stories of stuff going on to where people have stories in the hive mind has changed at this point. It's kind of what I'm getting at. You know, like when you were 6 years old, sorry, I'm rambling, but when you saw that as a kid, you probably didn't know what to think of it. Like you said, still to this day, you don't. But now there's other people that have crazy stories too. And you're like, I'm not the only one, you know? And so, I mean, what do you think about all the craziness of this disclosure going on right now?
Well, first of all, when I was 6, I I did so what I mean by I didn't know what to think of it is I don't know what the meaning of it is. I
Mm-hmm.
knew at the time, even now, I knew that it was from God. I knew that man, whoever he was, I'm assuming it's Elijah. Um, I knew that he was from God and I knew he was from heaven, but I just don't know what it's supposed to mean. Now, as
Mm-hmm.
far as the disclosure, I personally don't believe in aliens. I think it's
Right.
an absolute deception.
That's where I'm
Um,
going with it. Yes. So like an
and
angels and demons war in the clouds kind of
right,
thing. Yes.
and also the I think it's the chapter before that one about the because that about the man in the sky is chapter 3. That's that third incident. The second one, I believe I witnessed. I came in contact with a fallen angel. So
Mm-hmm.
something people need to understand is that fallen angels have never died. Now they have fallen from grace, meaning that they were in heaven and I believe that in the Bible it says they left their oikotarian, which is basically like their original state. Um, it's like their original form, I guess. So, but they still have the ability to shapeshift. In other words, they can look like someone you know, and they can disappear. They can reappear. They have the ability to do these things. Demons can't do that.
Okay.
Demons have to inhabit a host if they're going to exist here on physical realm.
They're more
But
like a
demons,
parasite. Yeah.
right? Demons can interact with you in your dreams, though. And you fast forward in my book, there's like chapter whatever 20. I forget which one it is. It's at the very end. It's the shadow person, the one that
Oh
comes
yeah.
into the
Yeah. I
room.
remember that part too. Yes.
That's a demon. So, um, but fallen angels have the ability to. So that lady, when I was praying and worshiping God in my front yard in Missouri,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm telling you, bro, this old lady appeared out of nowhere, and she was behind me, and I felt her. I looked up to my left, still on the ground, and she was staring at me. And we're talking in broad daylight. It was probably 1 in the afternoon, about this time right now. And she
Mm-hmm.
was just looking down at me. And I remember looking at her, and I could tell back then, I could tell that, like, yeah, she looked like she was about 70 or 80 years old, but I could see in her eyes, it was like looking at a tiger or like a lion that was ready to pounce on me. Dude, it
Something
was
different.
creepy. I'm just getting chills right
Yeah.
now thinking about it because, and she looked at me and she goes, hello, like all like creepy. And I remember everything in my being was like, get away from her, get up, get away from her, get away from her. And I was probably about 3 or 4 feet from the street, and she wasn't standing in my yard. There was a curb, right? There's a grass, there's a curb, and then there's a street. She was standing like right up against the curb, and I got the impression like if she could have, she would have reached out and grabbed me.
Mm.
I'm telling you, it was creepy, bro. And I just remember
Creepy.
stood up. I didn't take my eyes off of her, and I backed up. And the entire time she just followed me with her eyes, and she was watching me. And she was dressed in all black, and it was just I'm telling you. And when I got to my door and turned around, which is about 4 seconds. Homegirl was gone, and
Mm.
we lived on a straightaway street. Like there was nowhere for her to go.
That was
She
gonna be
couldn't
my
have
next question is like, was she still there? But yeah.
She straight disappeared, and I'm telling you, that was a fallen angel. I know it was.
Damn, dude, that's crazy. Sorry, my
Yeah, bro.
video kicked off
They're,
for some reason.
they're
That's
real.
creepy as
They
shit.
exist.
Yeah.
And
Creepy
there's
old
another.
ladies. Remind me of like Poltergeist 2 with the old dude at the front door.
Yeah. Yeah, that dude's creepy. Yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff I could tell you that I didn't put in my book, but uh, there's like a dude I used to work with. His name's Tony, and he told me about a guy that came and visited him in his bedroom, and uh, this guy was obsessing over this girl. And I told Tony, I was like, bro, you got to let it go, man. If she doesn't like you, you can't. I was like, you're gonna get arrested. Like she's gonna call the cops. And It was bad. And he said that he was visited by a guy in plain clothes. He just appeared in his room. And I was like, Tony, I need you to listen to me. I was like, you're dealing with beings that are way more powerful than you, and they're not here to help you. He's like, well, I don't know, Colin. He said he could help me. He said he knew how to convince her to love me, or whatever he said. And I was like, nah, bro, no, that's not how that works.
Damn, but then my question would be, I don't know what happened to my video, but we're still going.
It's
But
all good.
it'll kick back on. But my question would be like, why aren't you questioning why the hell the guy's not in your room in the first place? Doesn't
Yeah,
matter what information he's got, you know?
yes. But this guy Tony was kind of like he wasn't. He was kind of a, what do you call it? Simple. He was
Yeah.
like he could function, right, but I got the impression that he almost like a drug baby. Like when he was born,
Mhm.
his parents were doing drugs or something. Um, he was. I liked him. He was a good dude, but he just didn't. He had like no common sense type thing, like that. Like you said, that's the first thing that popped in my head. I'm thinking like, bro, this guy standing in your room, like, and this didn't occur to you, like, whoa, he wanted to help me. I'm like, no, Tony, come on. But just
Right.
you know what I mean? Just stuff like that, bro. And it's just the enemy is real. He's 100% real.
Man,
Absolutely.
sorry. I'm trying to get this damn it's bugging me,
It's all
but no, we're
good.
fine. But dude, yeah, so anyways, yeah, just crazy experiences of life like and then like I said back to even like modern times now, in the bigger picture of everybody, like everybody is almost like open. It used to be this like you didn't want to tell people. It's almost like you were saying in the beginning like about writing a book, right? And it's
Yeah.
like, do I put this out there? Do I what? But then there's almost like there's like it's an honor or something to put it all out there and then to find out that there's others out there that have crazy experiences and stories. So it's this connective thing where it changes the hive mind where everybody becomes like, hey, we're all in this together instead of like a schizo side of things or something. But
Yep.
yeah, it's so strange how a lot of things that used to be crazy conversation are more open for conversation nowadays, whether it's Nephilim or giants or fallen angels or like these are becoming modern conversations now, and it's kind of strange.
Yeah, I think the reason why is because you got to remember the enemy knows that their time is coming. They don't know exactly when that is, but I think they kind of can sense it. So there's a story of the Gadarene demoniac where Jesus goes across the sea from Galilee. He goes to a town, and him and his disciples get out of the boat. And in that town, there was this guy that was possessed, and it says that the people could not contain this guy. Like he was in a cave, and they bound him with chains, and homeboy broke the chains because he was so like ravenous, like an animal, and he would cut himself with rocks and stuff, and howl at the moon. He would run around at night butt naked, and he would terrorize these people, right? And so,
Mhm.
um, and Jesus, it says that when Jesus came up, it says this guy it says he was possessed with legion, which Roman legion, I believe it had about 5,000 soldiers. So Jesus came and he says, what is your name? And they says, we are legion. And they come down and they kneel before Jesus because that's the thing. The demons knew exactly who Jesus was. They didn't have to have anybody tell them. They all recognized Jesus immediately. So they knew his authority, and they say to him, they say, is it have you come to torment us? It's not our time yet. Don't send us to the abyss. So it's like the enemy knows this whole time. The enemy knows, okay, we're basically here for however long we're here, and until we get cast into the outer darkness or cast into the abyss, we're going to torment mankind as long as we can, and we're going to try to deceive as many people and cause as many people to go to hell as possible. That's what the enemy. That's why I told my brother. I said the enemy looks at it like they're on a sinking ship, and the enemy can't get off the sinking ship. So what are they going
Mhm.
to do? They're going to try to drag as many people with them down to the depths of the ocean and drown as they possibly can. That's how the enemy looks at it. So my
Yep.
brother thinks that, he thinks that the devil thinks that he can kill God. I was like, no, 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 no. The devil knows he can't kill God. But what the devil can do is that he can convince all his lackeys, all of his Renfields, he can
Mm-hmm.
convince them that they can kill God. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's what the devil has been doing. And all these secret societies, all these people, all these clowns, they honestly think that they're going to stand against Jesus and he's going to obliterate them, all of them. And
There's also the weirdness of like whether they, I mean, it's like, do they believe in him or not? Are they scared of him or not? In a big grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter on like what their beliefs are. It matters if they believe their beliefs, I guess. Does that make sense?
right.
Like,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
they can believe something batshit crazy and wrong that might not happen in their own eyes, but they're still
Exactly.
trying to self-prophesize these things right now in our freaking in front of us in real time with all these world events going on. They are trying to self-prophesize a lot of end time revelations. And you're like, you don't get to do that. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like that's not your decision. When it's God's time, not yours, self-manipulated. You know what I'm
No,
kind of
you're
saying?
right. You're absolutely right. It's almost like the Heaven's Gate people. Remember that lunatic? Then his
Yep.
eyes were like this,
Yep.
and he was like, "Oh, drink the Kool-Aid." And like you're saying, we all knew that they were completely nuts. But the whole point is that that dude and his followers, they all believed it. They all believed what he was saying. So in their mind, their reality was real. And it's like, no, dude, you're following this lunatic, and you're all gonna basically commit suicide. Is what's gonna happen.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you're right. And the secret societies and people who run this world, it's exactly like that, the Heaven's Gate, but just more elaborate and much, much, much older. Like
Yep.
we're talking. They're what, a synagogue of Satan. It goes back probably before Babylonian times.
Yeah. These things are old. They're long game plans. They're
Oh
not
yeah,
short term, short term
exactly.
gains running, running quick scams on people and shit like most little cults do. This
Yep,
is, long games, multi generational things
yep,
that, they'll even sacrifice their own just to make the plan go on for the next generation. And it's some sick shit out there, man. And it's weird
yeah,
that like most people, like I said, there is this weird enlightenment nowadays that a lot of people are waking up to. They don't have answers, and I don't have answers to anything really. I mean, I do have answers to some things, I guess, but most things are just like, hey, why aren't we asking this question? Why aren't we asking this question? And there's a
yep,
lot more people that are like, hey, what? Like sending me messages and stuff. And it's like, hey, what does this thing mean? And I'm like, I don't know, but I'm glad you're starting to question stuff,
yeah.
and
The fact that they're asking questions is good.
mm-hmm,
It means they're noticing stuff. And like, to further your question about disclosure, yeah, it's I honestly believe that Werner von Braun, allegedly, he told his assistant, he told her, and she claims, and she gave her testimony about him. She said in like the final year or 2 years of his life or something, he kept telling her, like every day she would work with him, he would tell her, like Susan or whatever her name was, he'd say, remember, the final deception, the final card they're going to play is going to be aliens. He said, don't believe them. He
mm-hmm,
said, they're going to try to convince people that they're aliens. He said, they're not. So I honestly, the best I can make of it, first of all, there's a firmament. I don't know if you believe
mm-hmm.
in the biblical cosmology.
I do. Yep.
I believe in the biblical cosmology. My buddy thinks I'm absolutely insane. And I told him, I was like, well, bro, if you've been paying attention to NASA, like, don't listen to me. Just
Mm-hmm.
watch NASA. You catch them lying like once a day. It's
Yeah.
crazy. And then it's like, I personally think there's a firmament. And, when you go back and you read the Bible from the perspective of the biblical cosmology is true, then the Bible comes alive in a new light. Like, you start
Mm-hmm.
to be able to answer questions where before you were like, oh, that's just hyperbole. It's like, no, no, no. The firmament is real,
Things
and
become more
we
literal.
we can't leave. There is no leaving this earth. Now,
Mm-hmm.
I think you can leave in the spiritual form. I think you can
Yes.
leave, but physically you cannot. And I do think there's truth to that about the whole, there's stuff in the oceans. I think that's true because, um, it, first of all, they say we've only what is it? We've only explored like roughly 10 or 15% of the ocean floors. It's like, first of all, why? All the money we've wasted and all the programs we've been through, and we don't even know it's at our own ocean floors. How does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
And you know what I mean? Like all the money wasted on space. And if you think about it, all we've really achieved with quote unquote space exploration, it gave us a bunch of CG images. And supposedly these rovers collect these rocks. You know what I mean? It's like you're talking
Yeah.
trillions of dollars since the 50s. And that's what we have to show for? Like,
We
come
know
on
for a
now.
fact there's things in the ocean. So, like, why don't we go to the place where we know there's things versus the
Exactly.
place where we're like hoping there's things hypothetically, you know?
Exactly, bro. But people are distracted, and I think that's why they push so hard for like Star Wars and Star Trek and all these fantasy driven stories is to keep people preoccupied and keep them distracted. Well, like you said, like why don't we go check out the? It's like saying, oh well, we know there's a lost city with all these artifacts and gold and all this stuff that would explain history, but let's not go look at the lost city. Let's go over here where we have no idea where anything is. But
Right.
no,
Or if you're
dude,
like
let's
a
go.
deer hunter and you're like, hey, this guy says he's never seen a deer ever in this place. And this other guy says, I saw 500 yesterday. Which one are you going to, man? Like, huh? Easy question.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Yeah, dude.
Yep.
So, like, with even some of the guys, what the hell's his name? Tim Burchett. He's congressman or senator, I believe. He's one of the ones that's been running the whole. He went on Rogan recently and he's talking about disclosure and a lot of
Oh
stuff he's
gosh.
talking about though isn't necessarily he's interesting because I'm like, I don't know. I'm not going to believe him, but most of what he was talking about is the interesting stuff is under the ocean. And so that's where the interesting conversation was, not necessarily this guy, but if they're government, they're going to be lying to you anyways. But then there's always that little seed of truth they put in there anyways, because they kind of have to tell you a little bit, but not enough. That's that Hegelian dialectic shit or whatever.
Yeah.
So meaning like, I don't know. It's just weird that now they're willing to talk about things underwater. But 30 years ago, if you talked about Loch Ness or megalodons or something, you're like, oh, whatever, you conspiracy kook or what, you know what I'm getting at? Like, why the sudden interest? Why are they putting it out there in the zeitgeist now? And it's like acceptable. It's like
Well,
kind of,
I think they're doing that because they are going to disclose. So in the Bible, I forget the exact passage, but it basically says that men's hearts will fail them for fear of things that will come up onto the earth.
mm-hmm.
And that tells me that either A, it's going to be something coming out of the oceans, or B, it's going to be something coming up from the earth, like the actual soil
Yes.
from within caves or whatever, or C, a combination of the two. So I don't know exactly, but I do believe that there's something in the oceans, but I just don't know exactly what that is. But whatever
Mm-hmm.
it is, the Bible says that men are literally going to die because they're basically going to have heart attacks because whatever it is going to freak them out.
Yeah. Well, we've got stories of the military finding giants in the Middle East. We've got,
Yeah.
giant Kandahar and stuff. And then that's not the
Yep.
only story. People want to try to dismiss that. There's actually a lot of stories. And then it's also the lore of those areas too. It's not just this firsthand account by a military soldier. It's the people in the villages that tell you these stories. There's people in South America villages that tell you that I don't really believe in dinosaurs, but I do believe in giants and dragons, but I don't believe in dinosaurs. But the thing is like there's people in South American jungles that'll tell you that there's still these long necks and giant looking things out in deeps in the jungle, and people just dismiss it as woo woo. But it's like, what if these things, like the world is stranger than we're told?
It's
What
wild.
if there's still giants and Nephilim and beings that have hidden out for long periods of time that are they walk among us, that kind of like fallen angels, all these things. Like it's just interesting that we're in a time of everything is being talked about by everybody on planet Earth right now. But at the
Yep.
same time, there's so much information that nobody's really processing it. They're just moving on to the next story. So I don't really know where that point's going. I'm just saying, like, there's so much going on in the world that people are starting to ask questions, but they're like, anyways, got to go to work. Oh,
Yeah.
Donald Trump said this, back to that news story. And like they just move on it immediately.
Yeah. And what's interesting about the whole Kandahar giant way back in, I think it's Joshua, in the book of Joshua, when God tells Moses and Joshua to basically eradicate all of the Nephilim, and the Nephilim are essentially are the offspring of the fallen angels. So
Hmm.
they're a hybrid of a fallen angel and a human woman, and that's why if you probably have, maybe your audience has too, but they've started to realize now that they get some of these blood samples and they're saying it always comes back the same, like, oh, we can trace the mother side back to like how many thousands of years ago in the Mediterranean or basically the Middle East, but as far as the father side, we don't, it's showing up as something that we don't know what it is. So,
Hmm.
in other words, yes, that you're looking at the genetics and the blood makeup of a hybrid. Of essentially, it's an abomination. It's something that should have never happened, and those are the Nephilim. So God told Joshua and Moses to eradicate those things, and that's why people, oh, how can you believe in a God that you know gave the order to destroy an entire village of people? Well, finish the story, Slick. It's like
Hmm.
if you actually read the story in the Bible, he's talking about a village of abominable hybrid beings that were giants and they were cannibals. And I mean,
Cannibals,
these
yeah.
things, the Israelites had to fight against all kinds of these people. And what's crazy is that there's different kinds of them. And one of the kinds of the Nephilim, I believe, I think they were the Anakim. It was either the Amalekites or the Anakim that would dwell in the hills and the caves.
Mm.
So what's interesting is like, yeah, I think it's very possible that as of like right now to this day, is it possible that there's some hybrid freaks, abominations that live in caves to this day? Probably.
Hmm.
Um, now, what was it like? Gary, what's his name?
Gary
Gary
Wayne.
Wayne, Gary
Hmm.
Wayne, and some other people, biblical scholars, come out and say they can't pinpoint. They don't know exactly how it happened, but they call it a second incursion, where before Noah's flood, that's how you had the original Nephilim that were
Yes.
huge, and then the flood happened, killed them all out, and then the question is, well, where did all these Nephilim come after the flood? And I don't know. I don't know. I'm
Well,
not
here's
really
a
sure.
fun thing. Speaking of like Kandahar Giant and stuff, six fingers, six toes, all this,
Yep.
right? There's
Double rows
something
of
I've been
teeth.
trying to piece together for a while that I don't really have, like I said, answers on it. It's just weird little connections. But so, like with AI, right?
Hmm.
Get into like, let's, maybe one more question. I got a couple minutes left, but, like disembodied spirits and souls, right? So think of
Yeah.
this idea of, the Ouija board. It's just a piece of cardboard until you put intention into it, and then
Right.
you are opening a gateway to something else, and you don't even know who you're talking to, right?
Right.
Same
Exactly.
idea with like using Chat GPT and using AI pictures and stuff. And I'm not necessarily talking right now. I'm talking about in the beginning when these things were coming out, because we were seeing, this is just a theory I'm trying to come up with, but most of the photos, what was the giveaway? Six fingers, six toes, like weird. It was always like six fingers. They always had an extra finger on them and stuff. And then
Oh,
it's
you're
almost like
right.
they're breaking through this little veil. I've got this thought that, like, dude, some of these fallen
Interesting.
angels or these disembodied spirits are on the other side of this AI. So when it's answering all these all knowing questions, you're getting granted this little bit of info, but at what cost? And then we're going to see this AI shit take over our world at this point. But it's almost like with Boston Dynamics and Tesla and making these robots, we're just one step away from these parasites being the disembodied souls being able to actually have a vessel and then being able to rule over humans in a short time being or whatever. But do you kind of see where I'm going with that? Like, it's
Yeah,
very
yeah.
interesting that it's like almost they gave their secrets away in a thought of like, here's six fingers on this person. Oh, sorry, that's just crappy technology. And then it gets better and more believable. And then now we're like, hey, let's put AI robot in a brain of a robot to be your housekeeper. And then we can see where that goes into a dystopian world.
Dude, that's gnarly. I didn't even realize that.
What
That's a
do you
good
think
point.
about AI, dude? I mean, it's like, Is it just
Um,
technology, or is there some spirit world involved?
oh, it's absolutely spirit fueled. There's no doubt about it. I will say there's a story, there's a chapter towards the end of my book, and I think I titled it "Ghost in the Machine."
Mm.
Um, so what's weird is that uh, I do believe that the enemy has the ability to interact with us through technology. I'm certain of this. At what level, I don't know, but I will say this: I was doing Direct TV, and I was doing a job in Rancho Santa Fe. It's an area in Southern California where there's a bunch of rich people,
Mm-hmm.
and it's an area that was redeveloped over time. It originally started like back in the day, back in the 40s and 50s. It was nothing but like farmland and like ranchers and stuff, and it wasn't developed. There was nothing out there. But as time progressed and cities got bigger, um, it became the spot for millionaires to go and buy these properties and build their mansions or whatever. So I went out there to do a job. I was installing a brand new satellite, and I was installing like two or three receivers or something. And I had no reception because in areas in Rancho Santa Fe, there's a lot of like dead zones. Like
Mm-hmm.
you have to walk outside and like because back then I could take my work phone and I could modify the work order depending on what the customer what they said. Like they would change a work order or whatever. So I had to go outside. I got in my van and I called my so I had to call dispatch and I was going to modify the work order. And so mind you, I'm on my work phone and I'm modifying a work order. So this isn't like I was using my personal cell phone and someone was playing a trick on me. I was using my work phone, calling a number that only small percentage of people have this number.
Mm-hmm.
So when you call and modify the work order, there's like a standard. You get in touch with an operator and you tell them what you're trying to do, and they say, "Okay, hold on, let me put you on hold." And there's a given amount of time that you have to wait until the other part of the company picks up, and so on and so forth. So I'm
They
in
put
that
some
wait.
goofy flute music in the background for hold music or something. Yeah.
Right. Usually it's flute music, but on this part of the call, it's usually about 30 seconds where I'm just on hold waiting for the guy to pick up. So
Gotcha.
I'm sitting there on that, and there's just silence. And all of a sudden, I hear from the phone, I hear a voice that says, "I'm with you. I'm with you everywhere you go." But it said it in like a whisper, but it wasn't like quiet. It was like, "I'm with you everywhere you go." Like it was like real creepy, super creepy. And
Yeah.
it shot chills down my spine through my body. And I was like, whoa. And I pulled my work phone away from my ear. And then like 5 seconds later, and I'm processing everything that just happened. And then I hear him pick up like the worker that's, I'm waiting to talk to the guy. He picks up, he's like, "Hello, this is Bob from Director V. How can I help you?" And I'm like, and I just sit there and I'm like, whoa. And I'm realizing what happened. And I snap out of it. I'm like, hello, this is Joseph Wright, 452-471. And I need to modify a work order. And I'm still like, what
Yeah.
the frick? So in other words, either, and I, it was either like NSA or some clandestine whatever that tapped into little old me and my phone call, or what I think it was the enemy that chose to uh, obviously attack me or freak me out,
Mm-hmm.
whatever, in that phone call. It was bizarre. Like, and I thought about it after when I went home and I was sitting there thinking in my head, like, dude, what in the world? Like, because the chances of someone tapping into that, it was just so bizarre.
Yeah.
Like, and the enemy has always done stuff like that to me where it's like, I told my brother, like the time when the bum jumped on the front of my truck
Mm-hmm.
and he like literally morphed. He went from the bum. He let me see him, and it was at night. He jumped on the hood of my truck and he morphed into like a bat, like a demon. Like his eyes
Mm-hmm.
went jet black. His fangs grew out, and his ears started to get all. Dude, he literally started morphing into like a vampire.
Mm-hmm. Showing its true
And
self kind of thing.
yes, bro. So, but my point is that their timing, their timing isn't perfect, but their timing it's supernatural. It's literally like my brother was leaning down, grabbing something in the floorboard, and that's when the bum jumped on the hood of my truck. Now, could it
For
be a
only
coincidence?
you. Yeah.
Right. It could be a coincidence, maybe, but throughout my life, it seemed like the enemy specifically chooses times where, like you said, like no one else can verify it. Now, my brother did hear something because I thought I was going to run somebody over and kill somebody because he jumped on the hood and I was like, whoa, and I froze up and I
Yeah.
didn't hit the brakes and my arms locked and I just stayed in the turn. And then he kind of like hovered off to the side and there was no dent or scratch or nothing on my truck. My brother heard stuff, but he never saw anything. And so just stuff like that. And if you're not mentally strong, it'll mess with you, bro. Like it'll literally
Mm-hmm.
drive you crazy because the enemy wants to drive you crazy. They want you to think, oh, you're going nuts. See, no one else saw it. But it's like, there's stuff that's happened where people have been like, whoa, and they didn't want to talk about it. And I'm like, no, dude, I know you heard that or I know you saw that or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like the enemy is very, very crafty. They know exactly
Well,
what they're doing.
that's the thing about it all, man, is like just trust your gut. If you saw it and you believe it, it's like there's a reason why you believe what you believe. And I'm not discrediting them. I'm using it as like a good example of like there's things that we all experience in life that
Yep.
unless another person saw it, that's going to sound crazy if you can even describe it in the first place to them, or whatever
Yeah.
experience you go through, whether it's a party and someone James Franco showed up or something, and like nobody's going to believe you if they weren't there or something. You know what I'm getting at? Like there's
Yeah.
these
Yeah.
things that like that's why it's our own personal experiences. That's why we're on these paths in life. That's why we're just we're here for a short amount of time, but everybody gets a different experience. And then the higher your calling is, I guess, by doing better in life versus being a terrible person or whatever, the more energy you put into being a better person, then the more you might be able to understand and relate to those experiences instead of just scary things sometimes. And that's what we're all trying to do, is just progress and just be better. And we might not know everything, but we're definitely noticing things, and it's slipping
Yeah.
through the cracks of reality is where we're kind of at right now. But man, Joseph, this is awesome, man. I'm glad we finally did this. And sorry with technical difficulties aside, but let's
That's
do
all
this
good.
again. Let's not wait so long next time, and remind everybody where they can buy your book and they can find you. And I'll put all your links in the show notes as well.
Yeah. Yeah. Derek, you're awesome. You're a really cool dude, down to earth. And Amazon, if you go to Amazon, Through a Glass Unveiled, you can find my book. I try to make it as cheap as possible, but because there's illustrations, um, the publisher said that the lowest I could make it was like $20 for paperback. And also, I tried, this is another thing that's weird. So I did everything on my end. I tried to make it possible for the Kindle version, the ebook,
Mm-hmm.
and it's on my end. It says everything's good. It says that you can get the ebook for $2.99, but when like friends and family have tried to get it, they said they can't get it. They said they order it and it won't allow them to read my book digitally. And I'm like, what? So the best way to get my book is the paperback because $20, there's like $20 and change. The hardcover, it's like $35, and I don't expect people to pay that, but I recommend you get the paperback. Plus, the cover art on the paperback is legit.
Mm-hmm.
When
That's
you get
really
the
cool.
hardcover, it crops out like an inch, and so in the cover art is supposed to be um, Luke chapter 24, verse 30 to 32, where Jesus appears to the disciples in the upper room, and it says once they see who he is, then he vanishes in front of them. And so in the paperback, you can see the holes in his wrists, and it's just a whole stuff that we didn't get into, but
Yeah, it's cool. We're gonna
yeah,
do this again,
Amazon,
man.
Amazon, and Through Glass Unveiled. That's how you get it.
I love it. I love it. And guys, see, just think about it. The audio, or not audiobook, but the digital version. They're trying to get rid of our physical media. They're trying to get rid of everything else. So, I mean,
Yep.
just stay retro. Buy stuff that's physically available if you can. And, because before too long, we're going to see books getting rewrote. We're going to see everything changing if it hasn't already
Yep.
happened already. But, anyways, man, Joseph, awesome episode, dude. Stitt-Heads, thank you guys for always tuning in. I'll leave his links in the show notes. Buy his book, and we're going to do this again. So I will see you guys later next time. Peace out.